Arbor Independent Community Police Oversight Commission. Would you please call the roll, Ms. Kennedy?
Right. Taking a roll. Councilmember Song? Here. Councilmember Harrison?
Here.
Commissioner Offman?
Here.
Commissioner Billups?
Present.
Commissioner Milgram?
Here.
Commissioner Pipkins? Commissioner Maribom?
Here.
Commissioner Green?
Present.
Commissioner Haynes?
Present.
Commissioner Alkin?
Oh, that's me. Here.
Commissioner Francis?
Here.
And Chair Carter.
Here.
We have a quorum, everyone is present.
Thank you. I would like to now call for an approval of the agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to look it over? If so, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any amendments? If not, all in favor of approval of the agenda, please signify.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. And hopefully you've had a chance to look at the minutes from the meeting of October 2023. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any changes, additions, corrections to the minutes? If not, all in favor of approval of the minutes of October's meeting, please signify by saying yes or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The minutes are approved. We are now into public comment. Do we have anyone on the phone, Ms. Kennedy?
At this time, we have no one on the phone for public comment. Is there anyone here who'd like to make a public comment? Okay, no public comment?
Thank you. Report from the chair. So I have a few things. I'm going to run through them more quickly than I had planned, but that's okay. First of all, 4 of us attended the NACOL conference in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was a very good experience for us. I know that Commissioners Milgram and Commissioner Pipkins is not here, and Commissioner Eliakin is also here. Would you like to talk at all about your experiences at NACOL and what you got out of it?
Sure. I'll take a minute.
Okay.
Given that this was my first conference and I'm a new commissioner, there was a lot of information that was very, very new to me. The sessions were interesting. I learned a lot about the way oversight commissions operate differently in different communities. I was especially interested in hearing from the sessions that included police officers. There were several that had a police chief was there, in addition to the Oversight Commission members. One of the things that struck me was the challenges that many cities and municipalities are struggling with around trusting each other and working towards partnerships in order to be able to work with the police departments and within the city. So that was something that I learned. I also learned a lot about individual testimonies of people who have lost loved ones due to police actions. And it was hard to hear, but it was also important to hear that they also want to change the system, to better the system so that the system can work for them and not against them. So I appreciated going. I think at some point in time, every member of this commission should attend one of those conferences, and I would be happy to work towards having a smaller conference right here in Michigan with other municipalities here in Michigan where there are police oversight commissions to hear what other cities here in Michigan are doing, given what we all go through within the state of Michigan. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Milburn?
Yes, Commissioner Lycan actually mentioned quite a few things that I was going to mention, but that's okay. That makes sense. You know, because there's actually a lot to choose from. I also got quite a bit out of the conference, glad I was there. And I would also encourage every commissioner who can make it next year to do so. Not sure where it's being held.
It's in Tucson.
Yeah, okay, well, that sounds nice. So you know, there was an Oversight 101 session that I attended. I learned quite a bit about the really relatively short history of other community oversight commissions. And, for instance, I learned that in 1980, there were only 13 of them around the country. In the year 2000, there were 100. And now, in 2023, there's 250, at least that NACOL knows about. There might be others. But they're sort of these certified oversight commissions that are part of NACOL. And almost all of them, it seemed, grew out of some kind of trauma, which is what occurred in our community as well. It's sort of like, you know, no one really establishes one just out of the blue or because, and what it really takes is for anything to happen in any of these settings, and not just for police oversight, but in other arenas, is through a groundswell of public support. And so, you know, one thing we talked about is how important engagement is of the community, use of media, our own media, social media and otherwise, and also partnering to the extent possible with local journalists to get word out about things going on in our community. And as Neil mentioned, we actually one evening we had dinner with the contingent from East Lansing, which was great, just to compare notes. There was less of that than I had hoped. I thought maybe there would be some smaller breakout sessions where we could really do a deeper dive with other commissions in other localities. But there wasn't as much of that as I had hoped. But it did provide for us, though, an opportunity. I mean, one of the benefits, I think, is just the four of us got to know each other better. And, you know, so that was nice. We spent a lot of time together as well. But as Neil mentioned, we've already been talking about this idea of trying to create events around or creating forums for at least the commissions in this state. I think we're aware of one. Believe there's one in Grand Rapids. There's one in Detroit. What was the other that we were aware of?
Well, we know the universities have them.
Right, and the University of Michigan has one. So I'll reiterate also that what Neil said about I was deeply moved by some of the first-person accounts of encounters that led to, you know, not just minor actions, but major actions in different places to make real change. And I agree, there was when the police chiefs were involved in some of these sessions, it made a big difference. There was only one union representative in any of the sessions, and I think unions were a little bit of an, you know, they were sort of the elephant in the room a lot of times. So that was an interesting element. Finally, I just want to say there was, in part of a session, they spent a little time talking about, I think there were 13 measures, ways to measure whether your oversight commission is being effective. And I'd like to, you know, share that with the commission at some point, and it's maybe something that we can get into over time.
Thank you. Before we go on, I just want to make note that our interim chief is with us, and would you like to, I didn't ask you during public comment if you, all right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. You know, and I always get something out of NACOL this time. Let me tell you one thing that I got. Our former chair, Dr. Jackson, who is now on a state commission, sent me a document. She says, Stephanie, you might be interested in this because I've expressed interest in this issue before. According to a USA report 19 of the individuals who are being prosecuted and have been prosecuted for the January 6th rebellion are current or former police officers or military. And the other day, I mentioned this, the other day I heard on the news in Marysville, now I'm not sure where Marysville is, but I don't think it's that far away. There was a dispute, a fight between some junior high school students, and apparently the black student claimed that the white student said to them, "I'm going to get my KKK relatives to come in and take care of you." Now, I don't know about anybody else, but it bothers me that many of our police officers don't live in the city of Ann Arbor. And I believe that many of them may live in cities or townships that don't have many people that look like me. That bothers me. And I'm not saying that everybody who lives in someplace else is a member of a hate group or anything like that. But I do believe that it is possible for us to figure a way to ensure that our tax dollars don't go to support hate groups. So, what I got from Dr. Jackson is a proposed amendment to the police department general orders in the city of Chicago. Now, of course, that's a much larger place than Ann Arbor. They already had a policy against, sounds crazy, but that provided that police officers should not be part of criminal groups. You think? So, but what they did is to actually expand the definition of what a criminal group is, to include organizations that would not support our Constitution, that would work against the interests of the United States. So I brought it home. I have a couple of extra copies if anyone wants to take a look at it. I sent it to the city attorney, ask her, our city attorney, just to take a look at it and see what you think. I'm going to bring it up again. And I just, it's something that I think we don't want to violate anybody's rights. You certainly have a right to free speech and you have a right to free association, but you don't necessarily have a right to be an Ann Arbor police officer. So that, I'm throwing that out. If anyone would like to comment generally, it's a good time to do it. If you want to say, Stephanie, stay away from that, I'll certainly consider it. But I have a couple copies of that proposed draft ordinance, or police policy, rather, from the city of Chicago that I'm happy to let folks see. Okay, moving on. We have, am I using the right term, Miss Kennedy? Listserv, a list of all the people that we send stuff out to?
Yes, we
Oh.
have a subscriber list.
You have a what?
A subscriber list.
A subscriber list. So we used it when we were going to be at Juneteenth, sent out to a lot of organizations that we know. We know there are other groups and organizations out there that some of the other commissioners may know about. So if you, we want to get out there to the public. This is a community commission. So if you have any organizations that you're a part of, your church, we have synagogues, we have mosques, we have all sorts of organizations on our list. But if you can think of something else, even if you think we might have it, just send Ms. Kennedy an email so we can add that to our list. I'm going to be asking the outreach committee. I keep hearing about, what are you all going to do next? What are you all going to do next in terms of a public forum and getting our name out there? We also talked about, okay, I'm skipping ahead. Thursday, we have a panel for the interview for the new police chief. And I'm inviting, we have space. If anybody else who hasn't yet said they could be there wants to come, please come. We're going to be here 8:30 in the morning on Thursday. And as I understand it, we have submitted questions, and I sent out the final questions to everybody. Hopefully, you had a chance to look at them. We are not going to ask the questions. Attorney Janetsky has our list of questions, and she is going to be the facilitator. She's going to ask the questions. As I understand it, we're going to have some kind of a form that we will fill out and express our opinions about the candidates. I'm wondering, of those who are going to be here, do we want to get together maybe for lunch right after? This is supposed to go from 8:30 to 12:30, and maybe we can get together. I don't know if the basement conference room's available. Maybe we can check on that. But what do you think? Yes?
It's not
Yes?
a bad idea.
Just even if we don't vote or whatever, we can get together. Would you check on that and see if that's, and maybe get some sandwiches or something? We can talk about that later, and we'll just have lunch. Go ahead.
So, and then council will be meeting with the candidates for interviews the following morning on Friday morning. So should you, after you all meet and have your moment to reflect and would like, council members to ask questions or follow up, there is an opportunity for you to let us know. So I think you're meeting with the candidates on Thursday morning. We meet on Friday morning.
Okay. Well, feel free to join us for lunch. Come down to the conference room.
I think Cynthia's got some additional comments.
I think the questions are already prepared. I think the questions that there are follow-up questions that I think
Yes, we're allowed to ask.
we're allowed to ask follow-up questions.
Okay,
But if there's certain themes that you'd like to, like us to consider, think about, and reflect on in advance of our meeting with the candidates, at least it will help us, give us some, feedback outside, in case some of us can't make it to the community meeting either,
Bless you.
I know there's like strict guidelines on what we can ask, and we have these questions on Friday morning, but we can ask follow-up questions. And if there's just some themes, recurring themes that you'd like us to think about, you can definitely convey it to council members. I know Cynthia and I will be there Friday morning.
Yeah.
I don't know who else will be there.
And in addition, there will be a police candidate reception that evening from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the Justice Center. That's right next door. So you'll have a time to meet with the candidates and ask additional, questions if you like.
Yeah, that's
Thursday evening.
the
Thursday
opportunity.
evening,
That's a really good opportunity to, ask questions and kind of get to know. Well,
Okay.
I guess chat a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
I think that's your opportunity to have more
Yeah.
candid discussions directly with candidates on Thursday night. I know I can't be there. I'm in carpool for Newsies, the musical. So that's why I'm asking if you all have additional thoughts, since I can't be at the community meeting, to send it to us before we meet on Friday. I know it would be helpful to me.
Okay.
I'll be there.
All right. So that's Thursday at 5?
Thursday at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
in the Justice Center.
So even if some of the commissioners, if you can't make that Thursday morning at 8:30, there's an opportunity there. And I put that in that position because I was thinking, as we're talking about outreach, maybe we can get, once the new chief is hired, have a forum to meet the new chief and have ICPOC sponsor that. So, as we think about outreach and things that we want to be doing. We also are talking about a newsletter. And Commissioner Eliakim and I thought we might work on that. We're happy to have someone else join us, just to get the word out there and maybe attach it to our subscriber list and also to our city page, just to let people know what's going on. And we're going to be talking about, I think, the complaint process.
Yes.
So some of my remarks I'll save till that. But I do want to say that I have asked IT to try and get us a new case management system. I know it's a lot of work. And maybe that's the reason why when I say we can use one more information manager, I don't get any volunteers. But it's a lot of work. But you know, when the cases come in, if the complaint comes into the police department, they'll put a number on it, and then comes over to us, we put another number on it. So some of the cases have 2 numbers, and then you have to look here if you want to see the body-worn videos, and you have to look here to see what the police said about their investigation did, and it's just, to me, cumbersome. And I figure, you know, I'm as smart as the next person, and if it's hard for me, it's just too difficult. It's just too difficult. So I have talked to IT. I'd like to have it start January 1st, 2024. We start off fresh. And so we'll see. We'll see if that works out. And I want to ask Councilperson Harrison, I know she's going to have a chance to talk later, but when we talk about our community outreach and public forum and so forth, I know she has something that she wants to talk to us about. So I'm going to invite her to take a few minutes now.
So I was speaking with Chair Carter about the STOPS cohort that is run by the Vera Institute of Justice that I was a part of. And that was a cohort of different jurisdictions, municipalities around the United States that are working on basically driving equality and things like that within their various areas. So we had our last meeting a couple weeks ago, and you all are aware that we worked with Philadelphia, you know, with our driving equality ordinance, council member Isaiah Thomas. And the title of our meeting a couple weeks ago was called Implementation. So it's kind of like, basically it's, you know, after, you know, you pass the legislation, what now? And so what I'm talking about now is a little bit premature because I'm actually meeting with Philly tomorrow with I think himself or he and his staff to discuss ways that they educated their community about their driving equality. Ours is an ordinance, theirs is called something different, but because now, you know, we've passed it, right? But what now? And what I talked with Chair Carter about last night was, I thought that, again, a little bit premature before we meet tomorrow, before I meet with Philly tomorrow, but I think that it is important that we continue to educate the community about the driving equality ordinance. There are a lot of individuals that are unaware that we passed this. I recognize that in my small bubble, folks know about it, but, you know, outside of that small bubble, there are a lot of individuals that are unaware. And so, you know, she and I just chatted a little bit about, like, for example, Philly, they have a little card that they distribute that lists their, that lists their different reasons that their officers can no longer stop individuals as a primary reason to stop. So, you know, I think, you know, I reached out to her about our budget and thinking about, I think that would be nice to have something like that to distribute at various, you know, events, maybe get to the, you know, the nonprofits and organizations within our county. And yeah, it's just, you know, I am meeting with them tomorrow. So their communication team, and they're going to share ways that they have, you know, basically communicated to their, you know, community about their driving equality. So, you know, I think that Because, yeah, I have people asking me, well, well, how's it going? We'll see. I mean, I think there's some data available, and I've been meeting with our prosecutor, meeting with her again tomorrow, so I can follow back up the next time we all meet.
Okay.
But yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. And again, that's part of, our outreach. If we have our newsletter, put that in it and so forth. With regard to the driving equality ordinance, as you know, the council has passed an ordinance for the police department to continue to collect the traffic data. And I've spoken with the chair of the Human Rights Commission, and I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. We want to have a joint committee, and I've spoken to our interim chief about, we plan to get together and make sure that collection goes forward so that we have that information to see what difference, if any, the ordinance has made. Okay, now I want to do something a little different. And I know you're looking at it, you come in late and then you want to do something different, but that's okay. I want to take about 10 minutes and do a case study. We get our complaints in, and we have the information managers who look at them. I think we're going to have to develop some way for the commission to make recommendations based on things that come up in our complaint review. But this is an actual complaint that came in, and I read it and I had a reaction. I gave the facts to someone that I trust very well. They had a different reaction. So I'm going to explain to you the facts as it came in to us. And I'd like to know your reaction, because to me it seems maybe this is the kind of thing that we need to consider a recommendation. Okay, here are the facts.
Do you want to just put it under your
Well, we're not going to make the recommendation yet.
No, I'm like as a topic under.
Just case study.
Okay.
Okay. A gentleman was complaint came into the police department that there was someone who appeared sick and was passed out downtown by the bus station and appeared to need medical attention. Police car arrives within a few minutes. They see a man sitting, you know how they have those big planters? Sitting up on the planter. Next to him, apparently on the planter, is a opened bottle of vodka. They approach the man, who does not at this point seem to need any medical attention. They say, you can't have an open bottle of alcohol. It's against the city ordinance. He says, basically, F you, leave me alone. They continue to say, we need your ID because we are going to issue you a civil infraction, a ticket, for having this open bottle of vodka. His response is the same, leave me alone. A couple of bystanders say, leave him alone, he's not doing anything. One thing leads to another. Eventually, the man does not produce his ID. He is wrestled to the ground, handcuffed, and at that point taken to the hospital because he complains that he has injuries. And now there's a threat of a lawsuit against the city. Now, I'm not going to tell you what my initial thought was. Does anybody have any reaction to that story?
Yeah, well, yeah, it reminds me of, sorry, there we go. It reminds me of, why they're trying to get more like social workers or people that are more mental health professionals to do some of this interaction. So it was basically a false complaint, and I think that happens a lot. They know that maybe if they say somebody needs medical attention, that'll get a response. False complaint that then led to that interaction, which was a pretty unfortunate interaction because regardless of the person having alcohol, which is against ordinance, the steps of handcuffing them, wrestling them to the ground, putting them in the hospital, it just creates a whole chain of events that is very, very bad for a lot of people, which I think is, as you're saying, a potentially very expensive maybe issue that was created because of that. So.
And it turns out, which the officers didn't know at the time, but it turns out that this gentleman did have some issues that perhaps the unarmed response, and I don't know where that is. Does anybody know? Is somebody still working on that unarmed response? But anyway, okay. Any other reactions to this? Is there anything that you might think of in terms of a recommendation? Commissioner Green.
Okay, now the question I would have immediately is what is the proper response by the police when someone refuses to give ID? There should be some type of protocol. I'm certain that there is. I don't know what it is. But when someone refuses to give their ID in any situation, what is the protocol?
Okay.
I'm not sure it's wrestling you to the ground, but I'm sure that there's something expected that the police are supposed to do in a situation where there's a suspicion that a crime may have been occurring, even if it's a minor infraction, and we have to have some ID from you for some reason. What is the response of the police? What should the response be when someone refuses to give their ID or refuses to cooperate?
So maybe there is a policy. I don't know, Commissioner Milgram. Any ideas?
Well, yeah, I did take a cursory look at the policies that I have in my possession at the moment that could relate to this, and I thought at best it was vague. I'm not aware that there is. That doesn't mean there isn't. I haven't looked through every page of policy that I have. And so, because I agree with Commissioner Green that if there isn't, there ought to be, right? About what is the protocol, of course. And if you're just walking down the street and you're asked to give your identification, that would seem to be, an unfair request. But if there is an infraction, an actual infraction on the books that the police are required to, well, not necessarily required, but if they see an infraction occurring and they want to give a ticket, then in that case, they need to ask for ID if they're going to proceed with that. But clearly, I think we all sort of feel like wrestling somebody to the ground and handcuffing them. But if you're going to detain somebody, is it the policy to handcuff every time you detain? I mean, I just don't know these things. I'd like to know. Mm-hmm. And if we don't have clear policies on these issues, we need to.
So my question or comment would be about what strategies or skill sets did the officers have to diffuse the situation beforehand, right? So we got to a point to where now someone is on the ground and handcuffed. What did we do before that to get to that? What things did we pull out of our toolbox to be able to work with this person who did not appear to be in danger, as the call said. And yes, there's an ordinance for not having open alcohol in the city, but there's also officers have an ability to make some other decisions, and it didn't have to be just a ticket, which escalated to this other behavior. So what other things had officers tried before they got to now I'm handcuffing you and those things? So.
Okay,
So,
Commissioner.
I have a similar thought as I was listening to your case study. I was thinking, so who called 911?
Yes.
For my first question. And did that civilian, did that person on the street, I'm just thinking of what I would do. I saw a man sitting there, seems to be a little out of sorts. I would say, can I help you? I would say, as a caring individual, is there something I can do to help you? Do you need medical attention? Do you need someone to help you? Do you need some help? What's going on? But even after that, and someone calls 911, did the police officer say, is there a problem? Can I help you? Is there anything I can do to help you? Could that have been an approach? I'm not going to second guess what actually happened there. I wasn't there. I'm just listening to, as you were describing, the report that you understand. But, I keep thinking back to what are some of the things that could be done, either from the passersby who are there. I know that area. It's people are there a lot, and there's a lot of people there. Could other people have gone over? I mean, because I do that. I would walk over and say, is there something I can do to help you, man?
And then if he says, F you, get away from me, leave me alone.
I'm not going to go into all the different permutations of this, but instead of immediately going to you're violating, an ordinance, there's potentially a person in some kind of distress there, whether it's medical or mental health or whatever. How do you approach someone? And, I would bring this back to the police department and their policies around training police officers around mental health issues. Is there unarmed response people who are better able to handle these kind of things? And where are we with that in this community? Those are kind of some of the things that I think about before somebody ends up on the ground with handcuffs.
I think we should take the incident in totality, not in just brief encounters.
Okay.
The police were called to that site because there was a call. The gentleman had passed away. He was vomiting and then recovered from that, and I was sitting on the planter in a public area. There is no way to judge whether or not just being sitting over there was totally healthy to continue his what he was doing. And also you have the public over there. The police arrived. They had some kind of talk with the gentleman, but there was no response, and a positive response from the gentleman when the police officers were asking. If you look at the video, there was a medical staff that was over there. You would see part of them. So the police officer arrived, and they wanted to connect with the citizen. However, things escalated in a way that required the police to react the way they did. There was another incident where, again, we got the complaint way back. I think one of the incidents we had, a suicidal person that the police had located, and handcuffed that individual and took her to for medical attention. So the fact that a person being handcuffed to being taken for medical attention, I think is not something that is not unusual. But again, what we need to know is, or work in the future about, does this mean that the only ones who are going to be there, only the police officers? Or would we have some people who are having mental health experience or social work experience to be there? I know the police officer probably reacted in a way that were seen by others as very aggressive. Led to probably some injuries on part of the police officers. They got injured, plus the gentleman also was, or he was taken to the hospital. He was sedated a little bit, and I'm not sure what has happened after that. Mm-hmm. It's just, we have to look at the picture from different avenues, but does not mean that there are no other alternatives. I think we have to look for other alternatives. Was there any incident before that an individual who was probably might be harmful to him or herself to be handcuffed and being taken for medical attention? It happened. So it's just the line sometimes is seen to be aggressive on part of the police officers. The police officers were there. It's not just they were walking. They were called. Plus, it was not an isolated area. What if this gentleman was left alone and then had encounter with other individuals, other citizens over there? Mm-hmm. So we really, we cannot just take one scenario and proceed with it without looking at the ramifications of the actions. But yes, we need to find some other ways that we could de-escalate the issues, not to reach that point of being handcuffed, being taken against that person's will or so. But again, I think we need to be careful about what is the reaction and the action of the police, as well as the individual, as well as the safety of the community or the individuals who were around that.
Thank you. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, Commissioner Hoffman, I appreciate the additional information about this case that helps to make us understand a little bit better. And as an information manager, I mean, we would look at all of that. We look at the videotape. We look at all of those things. And one of the key things that I would be looking at is, did an officer act in a professional way? In my line of business, I get cussed out and called all kind of names regularly. How I react is an important part, and holding our officers to a standard that you're in a job where you're going to be called out of your name and other things. And I'm pretty sure that there are strategies, and making sure that those strategies were followed as to not to get to where the officer escalated themselves to. So the videotape would show us that the other information that you've talked about helps to clarify more of the story and understand it. And I just want other commissioners who are not necessarily, at this point, operating in an information manager strategy. We think about all those things when we review a case, and when we see the videotape, and when we read what officer said and what a citizen said. So we take in all of that information as we get ready to make a decision as to if a policy was violated, or if we see that maybe there should be some change in policy, or if we feel as if the officer did what the officer was supposed to do in that case, which happens a lot. So I appreciate the additional information, but I also want to just bring clarity with, we look at all of those things as we're trying to make a decision. Thank you.
Good. Go ahead.
Yeah, one more comment. This actually reminds me of that driving equality ordinance that you said, because the driving equality ordinance was created to minimize, contact for unnecessary reasons, right? So take away a lot of the reasons that people were pulled over. I think in a similar way, something like this happens with on the street interactions too, like people on the street. We need a similar thing like that. It's almost like, can we incentivize police to de-escalate and to walk away without an incident? Like, that'd be very valuable, right? Because I don't think it really helps anyone to handcuff and take someone in, honestly. I mean, this person is obviously struggling, probably doesn't have much money, and then you just get really behind the 8 ball once you're arrested, and then you have, just snowballs.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it's a similar ordinance that could be created.
The other thing also is the complaint came from the brother.
Right.
And indicated that this gentleman has some mental issues, some handicap, I would say. And I think we look at handicap as any physical appearance of somebody who has something that you can see. Mentally, you cannot judge. So this is something that maybe we can recommend to the police department to have some training in identifying individuals who might be not just physically handicapped or so, but also they might have some mental issues, whether it's because of lots of reasons, and how you deal with those individuals differently than dealing with individual who is normal in behavior. So how we can distinguish between the two, to the point that we are not really taking things beyond the reaction or the limits of the action.
Yeah.
So I think we probably would recommend something like that.
Well, I said I was going to take 10 minutes, and I appreciate the input. I think this is interesting. When we look at an actual complaint that we've had, and we can look at it as an information manager, we can look at it as a citizen, and see different things. And I think as we look at cases like this, and maybe, does this make sense to bring a case to the commission and we talk about these kinds of things? When we do our annual report, we will make recommendations, but I'm going to ask the policy committee, is there a policy about de-escalation? Is there a policy about handcuffing? And we can talk about that. And the training, did the training did you all see the email that I sent today? No. It was an email about possible dates to get together. So that's something that we're going to talk about. Are our officers trained on de-escalation? And so it's this gets us started. I appreciate the input. Go ahead, Commissioner. I'm sorry, Councilperson Harrison.
So one of the things that is at the top of mind for me when I think about police, well, this is different, but unnecessary police contact with residents and just individuals on the street. I think about Elijah McClain. So I don't know if you're all familiar. He's a 23-year-old who was leaving the store, and he was walking down the street. He was killed. So in reference to, like you mentioned, the driving equality ordinance, is there something that could be looked at for? It is something I have thought about for a long time. That story, I mean, there's many, but that one wrecks me. It wrecks me every time. And actually, I think the second officer just was acquitted, I believe, just recently. Found not guilty. So yeah, if you're not familiar with the story, take a look at it. But it is definitely worth looking into.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
This past session, legislative session that ended about 2 weeks ago, there's a group of state legislators who had been trying really hard to introduce some bills, a bill package, the policing improvement bill package to committee. It sounds like once the legislature convenes in the new year, they'll actually start, get some movement around it. And this is one of the bills that Senator Irwin has been trying to introduce is one on training improvement that would require MCOs to, in consultation with behavioral health experts, establish minimum standards for training by October 1st, 2024 in de-escalation tactics, implicit bias, procedural justice, crisis response techniques, with behavioral health resources and support for individuals in the state, including law enforcement officers. So if there's interest in actually trying to see if we can use the scenario as an example for us to motivate our legislators to make sure that there are resources available for this kind of training to our officers, hope maybe that can get some legs on getting this heard in committee in the new year. So that's Jeff Irwin.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move along. That is pretty much everything that I had. Let me go quickly, because I know we do want to get to the actual complaint process. So, training committee, do you, where are we?
Business, we need to approve the calendar. So, under new business, we need to approve the 2024 Independent Community Police Oversight Commission calendar. Everyone has that in their packets. It says meeting notice. Those are all the dates.
Oh, I skipped over all that. Okay, old business, new business.
That's the minutes.
All right, where am I?
Where's the rest of your stuff?
There.
Over here?
What? This?
Oh, it's right
Oh,
here.
that's October. Okay.
Yep.
All right, report from the chair. Oh, is there any old business? Thank you. Any new business?
I know we don't have any old business, but I think we have not had any vice chair.
True.
And I believe that that was tabled way back, and I think it's probably maybe time to vote for a vice chair. I'm not running.
I know, because I asked you.
Thank you. So I think
That's an issue. Why don't we put it on the calendar for January?
that would be fine.
And I know I've made this announcement before. If anyone is interested in the position of vice chair, please let us know, and let's put it on the agenda for our meeting in January. Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Okay. New business, we need to approve the calendar. The calendar is in your packet. Now, what I'd like to change,
Before we make that change, I will have to do a point of information.
okay?
If you look at the calendar, you'll see for the February meeting, the meeting is scheduled for February 27th. That is an election primary. So the commission has the option tonight to cancel that meeting or to reschedule that meeting for a different day or to still hold the meeting. However, that is an election primary. So I do want to make everyone aware of that.
Will anything be going on here in the council chambers? Okay.
election,
The counting
clerks will
and all
be
that.
So-
What's your pleasure? I'd hate to just cancel the meeting. Maybe we can reschedule it.
Can we have it like a week before?
The third Tuesday of February
Just for one meeting?
for that meeting?
So instead of the
If-
27th,
Yeah.
The 20th.
I'm just gonna check the
Okay.
to see if the chambers are, and then you can make yours first.
Well, the change I was going, we really didn't cancel the meetings, we just don't have meetings.
Yeah, it says canceled on the update, but it.
I know, but we don't want it to stay canceled. We don't want it to appear that we're canceling our meetings. There's just no meeting scheduled. So can we make that change?
I can ask the city clerk, but sure.
Okay, thank you.
I move that we
Sorry.
Just, Ms. Cummings is checking to see if we can have our meeting on the third Tuesday in February.
Yep, so it looks like council chambers will be available for that.
Okay?
So they'll change it to February 20th
Okay.
at the same time?
Same time.
6 p.m.
Go ahead, Commissioner Milgram.
I move that we approve the 2024 calendar as just amended.
Okay, and the amendments are that February meeting will be on the 20th, and that we are asking that rather than the calendar say that our meetings are canceled, there's just no meeting scheduled for
July and August.
July, August, and December. Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. All right, now that I've got everything going here, now we're on to reports from the committees. Policy Committee, any report?
So I would just briefly say, when we went through that scenario, I was answering the question as the chair of the policy committee, because I already was just thinking about it in terms of policy, so I totally appreciate the comments that Commissioner Billups was making about putting it in a broader context. So I was a little, I actually expected, when I just took a brief look, to find something germane, and I haven't. Again, I'm not saying that there is no policy, but it is a first place to start, though, I think, and training is necessary and circumstances, and sometimes, policies, you need some leeway within certain policies depending on the circumstances. So I have some work to do to take a look at that, and then to talk to some folks to see if I'm missing something, and we can go from there. The only other update I'd have on our policy committee is just that I want to thank Commissioner Green for joining me. We've split up the work in terms of taking a look at all of the policies. So I've got, I don't know, some 2/3 at the moment, I think, or maybe less, and Commissioner Green's got the rest. And I don't know if Commissioner Green has anything he wants to add to that, but otherwise, that's my report for this month.
Do you have anything to add, Commissioner Green?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next is the Outreach Committee, and we have notes from the Outreach Committee. Commissioner France? Okay, who?
Okay, so I'll start.
Okay.
It's the training committee.
Oh, I missed him? Okay, I'm sorry, I did it again. Training Committee, I know we haven't met yet. So there's no no update from the Training Committee as of yet. We're hoping to schedule a meeting within the next week or so. Go ahead.
Okay, so Commissioner Maribon and I met a while ago now, and this was our first meeting together, so we outlined some of our goals and some questions that we had as well, because we were both getting up to speed. So you have the notes in front of you. I'm not going to read all of them, because I'm sure you could read them easily. But basically, I think we're curious about what outreach events have taken place or are in the works for both the city and the police, to see if we can, help or join or, work in tandem, but also, developing our own. And I think we have identified that communication is key here. We want people in the community to know that ICPOC exists and that we are here to serve, and that they are welcome to come in with complaints, and they'll be taken seriously. We also want to get to know the community a bit better, so more community events, formal and maybe even informal, going down, I suggested, and is, a passion project that you'll hear about more often from me, I'm sure, is just going down to West Park and talking to folks. I think listening is going to be a big part of our outreach. So one of our ideas was, sitting down with folks in the community, sitting down with police officers as well, and asking about concerns or questions or fears or hopes. And then presenting that information to the community to make it public so that we can start to understand each other a bit better. Again, because I think a lot of these situations are based in fear, misunderstanding, not all of them, but some. And if we can help with that a little bit, we'd like to. We also want to get more involved with the schools, because that was something that I think surprised both of us. And I think, we're trying to be proactive here and not reactive as much as possible. So whatever we can do to build or mend relationships, we want to be a part of that. We did have a question about social media, but Kennedy answered it very quickly for us. So we do know that we have social media. We would like to utilize it. Maybe that's a great task for the youth commissioner once we have one, because I'm not great at it. Maybe somebody else is. I'm not youthful enough for that task, I think. Derek, did you have anything?
No, you did a great job. So I think in some ways, we had our first meeting where we dumped everything out there. We probably need to get some feedback from the whole commission and bounce some ideas, and I think we'll get back together, reprioritize, and start doing some stuff. So.
Thank you very much. With regard to the schools, let me just say this. I think after George Floyd's murder, there was a sense that they didn't want the police around in the schools, and that was the resource officers, that was anything to do with the police. I had a lunch meeting with one of the school board members to start this conversation about us getting back into the schools, at least for career day or something like that, because as I understand it now, they don't even want officers in for career day. And what I was told and advised, because of what's going on with they're getting a new superintendent and there was a turnover and all that happening, that maybe we should wait until the new superintendent is in and gets their feet wet. And so, but I think that's an excellent, if we can do that. I have a question too, and what do you need? What do you think we need? Maybe this is something you need to talk about. What do you need for us to, I mean, is it going to be like an ICPOC day at the park? I mean, what do you need in terms of doing these things that you have ideas for? So are there any other comments or questions? Mm-hmm.
I think Safety Town is the program that's been longstanding, and the children entering into public schools looks for, the majority, a number of families I think look to as being kind of the first point of contact and before entering public schools. So I don't know if are folks familiar with this program? If you're an incoming kindergartner, you can sign up for Safety Town, and our police, our fire department is involved with this, and it's just kind of like basics of if you're home alone, how to cross the street, wear a helmet, call 911. I think it's like a week-long day camp. Yes, right. I have a newly minted 18-year-old, so I'm really having to reach back a little bit on this, but that might be a program that you can speak to in public schools about versus kind of making this jump to, you know, like safety resource officers, is learning a little bit about that. Because I know there is one of our officers had retired, and he was a longstanding staff on that program. They'll have to maybe, yes, Officer Marty. That's the only effort I think that's like a common experience across town of kids coming to public schools and understanding how, as students, you know, how to call, what is 911, how to call 911. I think they actually had like a smokehouse too, right? Like, what is a house fire like and how to prevent house fires? So an outreach effort that's longstanding and traditional that you might want to look into.
Okay, well, we're working on it. Appreciate your efforts, and let us know what you come up with, what we can do, what you need.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, now, we're going to move on to the Information Managers Committee report and find out more about the complaint process. Commissioner Offman.
Mr. Collins? So what I have over here is a draft of flowchart of complaints investigation, and things were really scattered. We did not have them organized.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you to hold on one second. Let's take about a 3-minute break. We have a couple of commissioners who've stepped away from the table, and if we can take about a 2-minute break, and till everybody else gets back, and then we'll start. I'd hate
Sure.
for...
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Meanwhile, you've got a So why don't I,
These are the ones, the words, the adjectives, or
okay,
some of the things that,
good,
but I think we can work together on those ones.
okay, okay,
And you can see that most of the stuff is the first encounter, the behavior.
behavior.
Disrespect, unprofessional, humiliated, berated. All these things came from the allegations.
okay,
And then you have the handcuffs,
yeah,
arrest, handcuffs,
too tight,
illegal arrest, harassing, profiling, vehicle impoundment, incomplete inventory, no receipt for confiscated guns, no arrest, but
fail
failed
to identify,
false information, incomplete report, failed intake report, no update on status, failed to notify. And then we have few trespasses.
and that, so is this mine?
You know what? I will send you an email with these things, and we can work together.
Okay.
Because we need to check with the IT so they can have those things
On another,
as part when they are going to tell us how many cases
right,
we had this time.
exactly, exactly. And that's part, if we can get a new case management system. Okay,
Told by CTM we are live still.
okay, all right, well, they're okay.
He just, because they don't talk to us by association.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, thank you, thank you. That was a needed break. And before, I want to back up. Before we get to the information manager's complaint presentation, I want to back up to new business very quickly. And Commissioner Hoffman pointed this out to me that as we talk about our committees, there was a committee that we previously had that we no longer, I guess it doesn't function. I don't know what happened. We had a personnel committee, and that committee, we talk about electing a vice chair that would come through the personnel committee, setting up interviews for new commissioners and so forth would come through the personnel committee. So I want to move that we add to our committees a personnel committee. And I know that Commissioner Hoffman and myself were previously on that committee. I'd like to appoint us, and if anyone else would like to participate in that committee, you want to think about it and let me know. But so I'm going to move that we add a personnel committee to our commission committees. Can I have a second?
Second?
Okay, any discussion? Okay. Then I'm going to ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to go back to the beginning with the information manager's presentation. Thank you.
So with the scattered information that we had, and there was no cohesiveness, and there was nothing over there for the information managers to really refer to when it comes to reviewing the complaints. So I just put together some kind of slideshow as a draft that can be changed with time, but at least it's there. We can reference whenever we have any cases that are reaching us from either complaints or from after the police does their investigation and providing us with the material needed for this. So as information managers, what you have is information manager subcommittee is part of ECPAC and chaired by one senior ECPAC member. I think one can remove the senior. One or two information managers review assigned complaints. Chair will review all the complaints. Regular subcommittee meetings are scheduled to discuss progress of the complaints. Chair and information manager will generate and discuss reports prior to presenting them to ECPAC. Upon approval of the reports, they will be sent to AAPD chief, city administrator, and the complainants. Each information manager should have a city email address at a2gov.org to access information and have a secure email for reviewing the complaints. We can't have that as your regular mail. APD send videos via Axon. Sometimes I think if we get things changed, this might change too, but the videos that we get from the body-worn cameras or dashboard cameras, they are coming to us via Exxon because this is a company that provides the machines or cameras to the police. Information managers should have a login to evidence.com using your city email to access the video. And login is a little bit different than your password that you access your city email. Videos will be posted for 60 days. Access can be extended, or if needed, can be reposted by APD. And those things, if we have any issues with that, Ms. Cummings can be our liaison, and she can contact the police department so we can repost those videos. Sometimes, you know, you have a case and you have update to the case, and it's a few months later, so we can go back and look at the videos again. In case you need any help, Ms. Cummings can assist you with that. Complaints come to us through either AAPD, individuals directly contact AAPD, or through ECPAC. And complaints sometimes come from the citizens themselves that have an encounter with the police, or sometimes they come from relatives, from co-workers, from somebody who is working someplace that they say they saw something that did not like, or bystander. Sometimes these complaints are coming to us that way. Most of the complaints are coming from individuals who have a first-hand encounter with the police. The complaints, when they go to the APD, they do their investigations, they have the complaints, the officers' interviews, summary of their investigation, and disposition. APD provide ECPAC with their complete investigations. They give us the material provided, include the complaints, officers' investigations, summary of investigation, dispositions, and incidents or videos if available. APD provide ECPAC with summary. They used to get us a summary, monthly summary of personnel complaints with case number, date of the incident, the type, employee or officers involved, complaint with allegations, and disposition. This is some kind of like an Excel file we used to get from them. Okay. So what we do as information managers, when we review the complaints, information managers review the complaints with all the supporting information and evidence. Each complaint is reviewed by at least one information manager and the chair. Information managers generate a report for each complaint. The report will have the complaint case number, date of incident, employee, officer, or officers involved, allegations, and APD disposition. The report will include recommendations of the information managers. Recommendations will be shared with the APD police chief, with the city administrator. The report of any letter will be shared with the complainants. And there are just looking at the investigations or our reviews, we have two types of recommendations. Recommendations that are specific to each complaint, and there are recommendations that are general recommendations based on the themes of allegations and reviews of the incidents. Sometimes we might have something is similar or occurred in more than one case. So this is a kind of a theme that we would like to have a recommendation. One of the things is anytime, as an example, and which is a true recommendation, is anytime a police officer is out on patrol, they have to have their body-worn camera. Why? Because it's for the safety of the officer, for the true encounter, the information that is going to be available to us for review. If there's an incident where there is no body-worn camera video, I would, as information manager, I would have to say it's inconclusive. I can't vouch for either or. So having the video available for us is something that we can build our review and recommendations based on relatively more information. The more information we have, the better our review and recommendations would be. So this is going to be a general theme. And one thing that is involved over here with body-worn camera is there is cost involved. So we need the police department to have the budget to make sure that everyone who is out on patrol, because you might be just walking, maybe you're just going out for having a cup of coffee, and then you are called. There is an incident, there is something, and you go and you are the person who is near the incident. So when you have your body-worn camera, it represents the situation itself. It's not just a matter of I said, he said, or so. So that would be a proof for us to consider when we are having our review and evaluations. Okay, I think that might be the presentation. Let's just put all these things together, and anyone in the future who's going to be as information manager would not want to reinvent the wheel. So these things are going to be available for all of us to use.
Very good, very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much. Now, there are some documents that we need your approval. We've actually started already using the one with the blanks on it to fill in. This is already in use, but we would like to have that approved. And I guess we call that, is there a name for this?
The templates, the letter templates. The case finding,
This one?
the summary and finding letter.
Okay. So does everybody see the ICPOC complaint? And then it has it will have the complaint number, summary and finding letter. So let's do them all together. And then you have this one there. Okay. There's one that says the Ann Arbor Independent Community Police Oversight Commission has received and reviewed your complaint. I wanted to, and I know Ms. Kennedy's going to say, why didn't you tell me already? But some of our complaints are more than a year old that we are just getting around to sending out the letter. So I would like to insert on this the following. Initially, we know that your complaint was filed some time ago. We apologize for the delay in providing this response letter. And then go into the letter. Does anybody see where I am and what I'm talking about?
I think it's important that we acknowledge that we are late, and sometimes it's late because of lots of reasons.
You're right, that's why I didn't even want to put the reason in there.
But that does not mean that we are not acknowledging that
Right.
We are behind, and,
Right.
and it's not that we ignore them, it's just a matter of we are acknowledging the delay, and we apologize for that. Yes.
Right, and then also thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
So I'll work with Ms.
We still put it,
Cummins.
I'll put it in there.
Yeah, so we're going to ask for approval with that addition to that letter. And the other one is the letter that we send out when the complaint is filed, so that they know we have the complaint, and more or less explains the process. So if you've had a chance to look at those, I'm going to move the approval of these 3 pieces of communication to go out with regard to our complaint process. No, I'm not. I'm going to ask for a motion for approval.
I make a motion that we approve the 3 documents as submitted with the change.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye or yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those are approved. Thank you very much. We are now at the point of our council updates. I know we've already heard from our council liaisons, but if there's anything further? Councilperson Song? No?
I'll just add that I attended, there was the State of Homelessness event that the Washington Housing Alliance had hosted, I think, was it last week? And there's a really concerning report on how our homeless families is almost doubling within the county, and we have very limited housing for families. This last September, we had, and I bring this up because as the housing crisis worsens, and we see more evictions, it just increases the odds of interaction with our police in different ways, right? And not only our police, but county and just throughout the entire county. So last year, we had 376 homeless families. In September, we have 636 this September. Delonis is housing folks along their hallways. Our warming shelters are really, really, really limited. I think, Bonnie, you're actually on this task force, right? Are you on this task force?
No, but I'm involved. I'm not on the task force.
Okay. But we're looking for shelters for large spaces for families. We've got enough going through January, but come January, we're looking for larger spaces for families. We're also looking for volunteers for overnights. A lot of this is our religious and faith community stepping up to provide their spaces for daytime and night shelter, but even they're really pressed for capacity. I would really encourage you all, if you're interested, to reach out to Washington Housing Alliance. They have updates on, I think First Baptist was looking for volunteers for overnight sheltering. But also, if you see a county commissioner out and about town, please thank them, because they did come in and provide $2 million in funding to help with this effort. And also, but it's still not enough. It's not enough. We don't have enough family shelters throughout the county. So I hate to think that, I hear from families who are going, folks who are working with families going through this, and hearing how it's really traumatizing and devastating when evictions are enforced and when people are desperate. I just worry that they might be more involved in the justice system because they're homeless. So it's something that's of concern.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Councilperson Harrison?
No, I did also attend the State of Homelessness and Affordable Housing event. It was really eye-opening.
Okay, thank you.
And that's-
Oh, the unarmed crisis response. I think folks were wondering if we're still doing that. We are still doing it. If there was an RFP And I had asked our city administrator for an update before our meeting tonight. And there really isn't an update besides, I think, legal's taking another look at the RFP that was submitted.
Is there a group that's functioning now, working on the,
They're
on our
vetting it
response?
still. Legal is vetting the RFP. They're just really, we want for it to be successful, so,
Yeah.
yeah, they're just still vetting the proposal we got.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, hopefully we'll hear something soon. All right, is there any other business that any of the commissioners wish to bring? What is it? What did I forget now?
We're on communication.
What? Communications?
That's the last one.
Well, okay. We don't have any communications. So is there anything else that any of the commissioners want to add? If not, I want to thank everyone. I think this was a really good meeting. I appreciate all the input. I so much appreciate your patience, and I once again apologize heartily for my tardiness today. Couldn't be helped. All right. If there's nothing else, I do have, if anybody wants to take a look at this Chicago prohibition on associations with criminal organizations, I've got a couple copies of this to hand out. Okay, all right.
Is that something you could send us? Is that something you could send? By email?
You know what I'm going to do? Let me hand it to Ms.
I
Cummins.
can make copies of it if anyone would like a copy.
Would you rather do that than, or get it through email?
I can make some copies. You like a copy, hard copies? All right. If you like a hard copy, just stay back. I'll run and make some more copies.
Here, I have 3, so,
There's 3.
and I know,
You too? Okay.
I know
I'll make one for you. Is there anybody else on the side you like? Okay, so 3
several of
copies.
them. Okay, good. Thank you for taking a look at that. And it's just food for thought. You know, we need to think about it. So if there's nothing further, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Derek's, okay. Any opposed? Can all in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Council